I'm Rob and welcome to Axel's Garage. Today at Axel's, we're out here working on the 03 Suburban. Now, we got a check engine light on, and it was on for a few months, but we had time for an inspection. And then we had some other issues with the truck, so the truck sat for a while, and battery went dead, and I was unable to pull those previous codes. Now, if I remember correctly, there were two oxygen sensor codes. Now, one comes back up when I start the truck up, and that's the P0141. That's a common oxygen sensor code. It's the heater circuit malfunction. The other one that I got when I was driving it previously was a short circuit on the oxygen sensor. I had never seen that one before, but that was, I wrote it down, that was P2232, and I can't get it to come back up right now. I just, charged up the battery, started it up, drove it around the block, and can't get it to come back up. But I know it's an oxygen sensor problem. Now, if you have one of these vehicles or a similar vehicle that has 4 oxygen sensors, sometimes you're in luck, and you are with these Chevys and GM vehicles, because your bank 1, right, which is your driver's side, your bank 1 upper and lower sensor, so the sensor before the cat and the sensor after the cat are the same, and the other side, those two sensors, they're the same too. So you got 4 oxygen sensors, each do a different thing because of their location, but they're all the same. So it's an easy troubleshoot. Just to, when you think you got a bad oxygen sensor, you get an oxygen sensor code, and you've isolated it to which one, and ours is bank 1, driver's side, sensor 2, the one after the catalytic converter. You can just take those 2 rear oxygen sensors, swap them over, and guess what? If the problem follows to the other side, you know the oxygen sensor is bad. Now, if you have another vehicle, like we do, you have that 03 Yukon XL, you can always pop one out of there instead of switching side to side. Then, if you got a garage full of parts like we do at Axel's, guess what? Right on the shelf, we had another oxygen sensor, brand new on the shelf. I got a pretty good idea it is this oxygen sensor, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one in. If it doesn't do it, I really didn't waste any time swapping the sensors over because I happen to have one on the shelf. But if you don't have one on the shelf and you want to troubleshoot it before you go out and buy one, it's a good idea to do that. Oxygen sensor on these vehicles, real easy. As long as they were lubed up when they went in, they should be able to come out nice and easy. I believe it's a 22 millimeter is the actual size of the oxygen sensor. My open end wrenches, you need an open end or you need a special oxygen sensor tool. My open end wrenches, I only got up to 21 millimeter, but a 7/8 fits on here. It's a little sloppy, but it fits on and it should be enough to pull that sensor off. Really, that's all you need is that 7/8 inch open end wrench, a screwdriver just to pop the tab off for the wire connection if you have to pop it off, if you can't grab it with your finger, and the lube. Now, the anti-seize lube comes with the oxygen sensor usually. If it's not in the box, your regular silver or bronze color anti-seize works fine. Be careful when you're putting the anti-seize on there though, right? Here's your actual sensor surface, and here are the threads. You want to get that anti-seize on the threads, not on your sensor surface, so you don't screw up your sensor when you put it in. So what you're going to do is, you're going to pull that old one out, you're going to put some lube on there, thread the new one back in, make sure the wire is connected, and make sure it's clipped up out of the way in the factory plastic clippy dicky, or grab a wire tie and make sure it's out of the way so it's not laying on the exhaust and it's going to melt on the exhaust, and make sure it's not up against anything where it's going to fray, because that'll give you a problem also. You only got, with these trucks, you only got to jack them up a little bit. A car, you probably have to jack it up a little bit more. These are pretty easy to get at. We're going to move the camera, we're going to pop it in and out, we're going to reset our codes, and hopefully we're home free. So just jacking the truck up a few inches gives me enough clearance. See our catalytic converter there, and right behind the catalytic converter, there's our oxygen sensor, all right? And the wire goes up and about. You're going to disconnect that wire first so that when you're unscrewing the oxygen sensor, you're not twirling the wire in the harness there and screwing that up. Okay, so I followed the wire up above one of the cross members. I got it disconnected. Now I can unscrew the oxygen sensor itself. Alright, so you get your old sensor out, unwrap the wire, and you're going to tear off your lube, and you're going to squeeze out some of your lube And remember to just get it on the threads, not on the sensor itself. Alright, and there we have it. We got a nice bead going all the way around the threads, and hopefully this won't rust in because we got the lube on there. Alright, so nice and easy. Put that sensor in. I'm just going to gently get those threads started. And let this wire turn that's connected to the sensor so it doesn't coil and twist. Alright, and once you get it all the way in hand tight, cinch it down with the wrench. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. It's got a double gasket on it that compresses, and then make sure your wire connection is nice and secure. Put the locking tab back in place, and wire tie that wire out of the way if you have to, and then start it up and clear your codes. Okay, so with my new oxygen sensor in, start the car up. Take my code scanner, and I'm going to clear out all the old stored codes that are in there. Alright, my race is done. Now I can check my readiness. Alright, don't have anything pending. I got my CAT, my EVAP, my O2 sensor, and my heater circuit for the, I guess that's for the O2 sensor, the HRT. Alright, those are still not in, of course, because I just cleared out the code, so we're going to have to do a little driving to get our codes to come back in. Alright, so all in all, real easy. It took me longer to dig my floor jack out of the snow because we had a snowstorm last week than it was to put the oxygen sensor in. Like I said, I had one on the shelf. It was a Denso. I think it cost me about maybe around 20 bucks on Amazon or Rock Auto. I forget, but it really wasn't that expensive. It was, you know, nice for me. I had one on the shelf because, heck, I got 4 in this truck, 4 in the other truck. That's 8 of them laying around. And I was chasing some oxygen sensor codes about a year back, if you remember, on a couple of videos that we had. But now, hopefully this one here, the codes will come in. If they don't come in relatively soon, if you remember in a video I did about 6-8 months ago with codes on this Suburban, we had to disconnect the battery and let it sit overnight with the battery disconnected for the codes to come back in. So we might have to do that again. I don't know. The Yukon, the codes always came in pretty fast. This one had a little bit of trouble, but we'll have to see. We need them to come in because we expired. Our inspection expired 3 months ago, so we need to get it inspected. I'm doing some work to it because the big dummy is going to take this to college while I get a little work done on his K5. So that's all we got for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Replacing that oxygen sensor, fixing that check engine light. It's real easy, real inexpensive. No real special tools required. Hope you liked the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. And if you like what we're doing here at Access Garage, as always, subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.